in the facility. Whenever any of our elders go into a facility, the look back used to be 2 years when you have property or anything before you go into a nursing home. The look back used to be 2 years. I was a nurse manager, okay? They moved that look back 5 because what Caucasians were doing is they were getting rid of their properties to their families, okay? And then they were going into nursing homes to the tune of $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 because it's 24-hour care. They have to pay for that nursing care. They have to pay for that doctor. That has to pay for those prescriptions. That have to pay for those meals. That have to pay for that physical therapy. Blah blah blah. So they were getting rid of their property so that their families could have that property and continue that way. Okay? So now the look back is 5 years. Okay? And so if anybody, you do it 5 years out to be able to keep that family with the property, to keep that property going that way, so that when you go into a facility to be able to utilize, because you've earned it by Medicare, because you worked, you earned it. But 5 years out, if y'all can just remember 5 years out, just pass that property over, give it to the family, and then as you begin to decline and you go into a facility, your property is with the family, keeps moving. So by right of Medicare, you've earned the right to be there. Okay? I got a chance to take care of a Deen of Case Western Reserve. Okay? And I did 2 things with that Deen. That Deen wrote a nursing book that we had to pay $350 for. And every time one was sold, she got royalties. Because things weren't done 5 years out,
they took all of that property.
they took them royalties. You understand? She only got X amount. They took them royalties, okay? And by right of her being the dean, I kind of talked to her and said, okay, you have an audience here with these nursing assistants. Just share with them some of what you have to be able to prepare them to come out into the nursing field. So I just wanted to share that with you if there was no clarity and no understanding as to, they're getting ready to take our property. It's a protocol. That's the protocol.
We need you to do a workshop at the convention. Protecting our property. Inshallah, that needs to be, because it happens not just to my sister, to thousands of, and that's how African American lose their wealth. Yeah, so sister, you put yourself on post by opening your mouth. Thank you, love you. Yes, sir.
It's on the side.
Yes, sir. Excuse me, I don't want to. Yeah.
I'm gonna be brief as I can, inshallah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, peace. Welcome everyone. It's not much I want to say behind Alfred. He's dynamic, and he's always, I really appreciate his sincerity and his ability. He shows what we all know about our leadership, that we have some really dynamic African American leaders, and Allah is with us. I believe him sincerely, and his heart and what he asked for, and his dua is my dua, you know. So what he believes, I believe it, you know. And you have to have the ability to stretch your mind and to believe that in your success, or you'll never see it, you know. And that's what we did, and that's why we're here where we are. And you know, there's so much to say that African Americans say about faith, but faith plays a major role. Faith and sincerity. You see, you have to have faith, and your actions and your beliefs has to be whole. And what I see in Brother Alfred is a true, sincere, good, decent human being. And that's the only way you get the help of Allah, you know. Right. And he talked about all these problems, and I said, well, we must have needed him. You know, we must have really needed him. He contacted us, and Robin said, well, Alfred's having trouble. I said, well, that's my trouble now, because Alfred got to be here. We have to go and get him and pick him up and bring him down here. And I remember one time he threatened me before, talking about he was sick. I told him, I said, my father used to talk about his mother, Sister Claire, said that she didn't get that name by accident. That she think Allah blessed her with that name because she had a little psychic ability or something in her. And I think I inherited some of that, you know. Because I saw Alfred helping us. And when he told me he was sick, I said, well, he's going to be here for a long time. I knew it. And I thank Allah that he stayed with us and continued to help us. And I believe we're going to reach that destiny where that he says we can easily have 5,000 at the convention this year in New Jersey. We've been talking about it, and people are already reaching out to me. See, this brother, Allah bless him and put him in the right place. You see, and sister, speaking to her in the hallway a little while earlier, I told her she was giving some compliments, and all I hear is good. You know, the little negative things, that's just our weaknesses and our fears, and those things don't last. It's your strengths, the things that give you character and give you who you are and what Allah blesses you for. So your faith and your good deeds and your true character, who you really are. You know, black people, it used to disturb me when I hear some people say, oh, well, you don't know the real him. The real him is a Muslim. He's a righteous Muslim, right? Isn't that who you are? So who you coming from the same background I come from, talking about the real? You don't know nothing real. You're all in fantasy, and you constantly paint pictures. So Alfred, he's a master. He deal with them cartoonists. Deal with them well. So, but we're so blessed. I tell my children that every day. I got my youngest one, the 6-year-old and 8-year-old. I said, don't you feel happy, really happy to be a Muslim? Aren't you glad? You know, because they come to me and they tell me things about school and this and that, and I always end it that way. I say, aren't you grateful to Allah that you're a Muslim? Yeah, it's truly a blessing, and it's immeasurable to know where we've come from and to see where we are as human beings, you know. And we still really not there all the way. We're not 100%. We're not whole in the family of man. We're not whole yet. No. If you look around, you know, you might have some people that were in chains during the slavery time. If we could all meet face to face at the judgment, and they might tell us y'all was worse off than we were. Like y'all the real slave. Who you calling a slave? I was a man. You never know. You never know. Because I don't understand why people shy away from truth and reality. You know, we more in a world of corruption and denial than we are in the path of truth and reality for many of us as African American people. But we have a duty and a mission that we've accepted as Muslims and as believers and as citizens of the United States to not quit and not give up until we help to administer some of that medicine that our doctor over here, Dr. Mohammed, just gave us, that he got from our leader and teacher, my father, Imam Warithudeen Mohammed, and also his father. That was the doing of Allah. Any of us that would entertain the lie that we come from a history of personality worship or characters, or that Honorable Elijah Muhammad was anything less than, how did you refer to him? Less than what did you say? As a sign or
spirit.
A spirit, and what was the other word you used?
A will body.
A will body.
And a mental body.
And a mental body. That we don't come from that. Yeah, once you're educated, once a person turn the light on in the room, they can't tell you you're at a beach resort when you know you're in the Mosque. You know? Once the lights come on, then you can't deny the facts of the reality that you live in and at the time. And we've been walking in the light for a pretty decent amount of time, that we have some full-grown scholars and imams in our membership, that our membership, those that support the mosque cares, if the weak ones don't support the mosque cares, first of all. And that was the true blessing. I've mentioned the sister in the hallway, and I told her, I said, well, one of the greatest fears, I told you all this before, that I had, is that what am I going to do when Imam leave? Because, you know, the pioneers in the community, family members and everybody, you know, I was a little guy walking around, you know, they see me walking too light, like I'm maybe being too lackadaisical. They remind me of my responsibility, you know. Say, well, you know, you're gonna help your father, and you're gonna be our leader, you know. And I said, I can't even entertain that. I'm not a person that to want authority over anybody. I just want service. Because I raised in the house of my father, I never saw him as being a boss or a leader. He was a defender of truth and righteousness. Truth and what he saw being Allah's will, and protector, and a servant more than anything. So I didn't see a boss or a leader anywhere, not in my house. But I knew my father would, you know, he'd defeat any evil that he came across. I had no doubt in my mind. No matter how strong it came, I knew he could defeat it. And that's the house. That's the type of situation I was brought up in. So my biggest fear was if my father leave, then people gonna be standing around looking at me, talking about you got to do what Imam Mohammed did. So much so it burdened me that I used to have a dream, and I can't recall. I had one other recurring dream, but it was something. I think it's like a psychic thing. Two of those people, I had dreams about friends of mine I don't have to go into, or associates of mine that passed away. Well, they didn't pass away; they got sick. But the dream was to point me to another person to soften the blow. I dreamed that a close business partner of mine that I worked with, I saw him, and his son was really sad, thought he was dying. He was in the hospital really ill, and they had heart disease in their family, and everybody else was dropping off his brother, their father, and so he knew his father was a goner. And I told him about my dream. I said, I saw your father riding a bicycle, and he was in the summertime, and I think this was during the fall, and the bright sun was shining on him, and his bald spot was full of hair. And I said, he looked healthy as he could be. I said, I don't think your father going nowhere. And my father passed a week later. So I knew that was Allah. And the other one was similar to that. A close friend of mine passed away. I hate talking about stuff like that, but it got me off track. But we are truly blessed, truly blessed to be Muslims and enjoying the mercy of Allah and the full use of his greatest gift that he gave any of his creatures, no matter where they are in the universe. Nothing matches the human intellect.
That's right.
Nothing and so many of us abuse it and take it for granted. The human intellect, your brain. Your brain is your savior. Yeah, your brain is your savior. If you use it properly, use it for good and in service to Allah, and submit it to Allah. That's why we make sajda. And after you make sajda, you don't end your prayer. Ask somebody, Allah say, sit back up on the throne, and you sit back up on the throne with your hands clean, spread out on your knees before your Lord and Maker, praising Him and honoring yourself for submitting to Him and for presenting yourself as something that's pleasing to you and that's also pleasing to your Maker. That's powerful. I believe in my heart and soul, this is me. We can't see Prophet Muhammad, but the best way to see him is through your salat. If you're sincere and you know that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the angel didn't come down here and teach him the prayer, to show him how to do the prayer. Allah inspired him. He was inspired by Allah. Allah gave him the prayer, but it was because of him that he made salat and the way he made salat. And you ain't gonna find another human being in the history of human beings on the planet Earth. You can go back and pull everybody out the grave and study their life from birth to death, and you'll never find nobody. You know, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is just, it's just amazing. If you just think about what type of person he was, and what type of person he was faced with the situation and consequences that he was faced with. He was in a terrible place, but he was so devoted to Allah that his spirit guided him to be the prophet. And we take it for granted. We take things for joke and things for play. But as Muslims, and coming from the community of Muslims that we come from, we know that we're not supposed to take things lightly. And that's what blessed the leaders that we have. Imam, I believe that's what my father was blessed with. The teachings that he got from the Nation of Islam and from his father and his mother led him to the guidance that Allah blessed him with. And the fact of the matter is, if you're sincere in your heart of hearts, You don't have to be no phenomenal intellect or great talented skilled person. That Allah will bless your intention. That He would bless the purity of your heart, and your life will be changed. That you'll command the respect. Like Alfred said, he's not bragging. I heard somebody once told me, say, yeah, you bragging about this and that. I said, you got the wrong perception. And we don't brag. These are things we eyewitness to. Eyewitness to. Because we've been in the opposite seat. We've seen what it's like to be nervous and to be afraid or to be overshadowed or be opposed and think, oh, I can't handle this, I can't do this, or I'm not, smart enough, I don't have enough degrees or this and that. And then you see people with all those degrees, all that history and background and all that power, and you got nothing. They submitting to you because they recognize the truth. It's universal. They acknowledge it and they recognize it. And I know they see Brother Alfred the way I see him. Sincere people do. And if you get a lot of jealousy in your heart, you might not ever see him. And that's a big problem with us in our community. That we see our brother, like Elijah Muhammad said, like a crab in a barrel. Like he wasn't trying to climb out. He don't know what he about to get himself into. We better pull him back down. Because you scared, so your brother should be scared.
Wow.
Yeah. I watch programs on primitive people. I think it was South America, and I was touched at the innocence and the baby-like in their nature. They used to, I don't know if it was a ritual of them, but they would all come in a circle, grown men, women, children, babies, and they had a ritual where they all would put their arms around each other like in a circle, but hugging each other, not holding hands, and they would all just go to tears and just boo-hoo and crying and boo-hoo. I said, wow. That's a situation. That's a human situation. That's a human situation. But the fears of one person, that's what the beauty of Islam is, that we take our fears to Allah and we seek Allah's protection as individuals. You don't take your fears and impose them on others. But where we come from, our history of slavery in Africa, our mothers, and we're in a similar situation now. A lot of our mothers are raising the children, the little boys and the little girls on their own. So fear is a lifesaver. A person that has no fear is a fool.
That's right.
Yeah, but with no guidance, you're a bigger fool. So we take those fears to Allah. Alhamdulillah. I'm gonna stop rambling. I'm gonna go on so I can keep rambling. New Orleans, we got believers down there. I remember some of my best friends. I sat at the WDM publications for many years. I think it was maybe 20 years before, 20 plus years, maybe 25 years before Imam passed. So I got people used to call me up and they would order tapes. Every time we put a tape out, we tried to put a tape out, but some of them used to just call me and they would reorder tapes or be sent them to a friend. And believe it or not, some people support a business because they believe in it. I think they believed in the publications in their heart just as strongly as I did, but they believe in its success and wanted to support it. And some of them still around. They just order because they want to send some money in there to the business to support the programs. And it's like Brother Osman said. He said it's like saying their prayers. That the believers he was talking about the believers in Detroit. He said it's like saying their prayers. They send their zakat in to the Mosque cares, and it's that important to them. But there's some brothers and sisters in New Orleans that were hurt by Katrina, and a lot of them I haven't. With some of them I haven't seen, and since the passing of Imam W.D. Muhammad I haven't seen. So I really look forward into reuniting with some of the believers that's in that area. I hope they're doing well and have settled and resettled themselves, those that needed to. But I remember I had a few that you have people talking about their loss, how they lost everything. So I had a few call me and say, I lost all Imam's tapes. And I scraped up every tape I could find. I said, give me a list. I said, if it ain't on the list, I'm gonna just give you whatever I can. and I was sending those tapes, and I forgot about that. I did because Hurricane Katrina. I got my thing. My wife we had babies, and I grabbed my keys to the car. I said, "We going down there." Remember? And I came back to my senses and looked at the reality of my situation, and I said I can probably help in another way, send some donations or something down there. But I wanted to go down there, because it was just something, you could feel the devastation of it. And so we were like everybody else on the edge of our seat watching the news on the television. But then when the believers called me, then it became more personal when I heard about believers that lost material goods. And we not no wasters. We not spendthrift. A lot of the real believers, they cherish their belongings. They got stuff that might not be nothing to you, but to them, that's their life's accomplishments, And I could just hear in the voice of brother, and every time I see him, he reminds me. And, I get choked up a